Good evening. I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Wendell Town Board of Commissioners. We have a lot of folks here tonight. We're happy to have you here tonight. Welcome. We're going to be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Carver Elementary School student Olivia Vines. Olivia, if you can come to the podium. I received from her teacher, Miss Voter, these comments. I chose my student, Olivia Vines, to come to the town board meeting tonight. Olivia has been such a wonderful part of our classroom family. She has a kind and giving heart, and she has expressed that one day she would like to be a teacher. I see a lot of my younger self in Olivia. She genuinely wants to help others in the class and makes it a brighter place. I'm beyond proud of this sweet young girl and am thankful to have had the opportunity to teach her this year. Now, Olivia is in first grade. So, Olivia, we're so proud of you, and she's going to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, and indivisible, to liberty and justice for God.
Good job. Thank you so much. We're going to be led in our invocation tonight by Elaine Vaden of the Covenant Presbyterian Church. Yes, ma'am. Good evening. We're so happy to have you here. Thank you so much. You are free to tell us what's going on at your church if you'd like while you're there.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Okay.
Well, Covenant is a small congregation with a lot of very committed people. And we're very happy right now. We have a new pastor, Rick McDuffie. He is a wonderful musician and has a lot of pastoral care for us. So this week we are meeting for prayer in the evenings. And Thursday night there will be a Maundy Thursday service. And Sunday, of course, we will celebrate Easter. So it's a joy to be here.
Thank you.
Let us pray. Loving God, we are so thankful for the gifts of your love and mercy to us. Thank you for this town of Wendell and the wonderful ways that they open their hands and their hearts to serve you. Thank you especially that we can honor you as our Savior and Lord during this special week. And we ask that you would be in the midst of this meeting tonight, that you would guide all the decisions, and that you would show the people how to make this the kind of town that would honor and glorify you. We pray this in the name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
All right, motion to approve the agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
We had no one signed up tonight for public comment. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we'll move into section 4, recognitions, reports, and presentations. The first one is item 4A, the recognition of Carver Elementary School teacher Ashley Voter. If you can come up to the podium, Ms. Voter. This was submitted by the principal of Carver Elementary School, and it was very, very nice. Miss Ashley Voter tirelessly works every day to be a coach in her classroom, not just a teacher. Ms. Voter understands that building positive relationships with her students is just as important as implementing effective teaching practices. Her calm demeanor and ability to motivate our students are two of her very best qualities. When you visit Ms. Voter's first grade classroom, you step inside of an environment filled with love, respect, and support for one another. She has built a warm community environment where students encourage and celebrate each other as they learn and grow together. Ms. Fodor is a passionate educator, and I'm most proud of the time she takes to collaborate and problem solve with others to determine how to best meet the needs of her students. She is truly committed to seeing all of our students succeed despite unique challenges that they may have. She is always eager to learn strategies or to implement new ideas to help her students who need additional support. Many might see this just as one more thing added to their plate that always seems full, but she makes it a priority so her students can succeed. She holds every student to a high standard and accountable for their important role in their education. My favorite thing about Ms. Fodor is her attitude against adversity. Teaching is a challenging profession, but Ms. Fodor takes on that challenge with an optimistic attitude because she knows her students deserve her very best. We are grateful to have such an extraordinary teacher as part of our Carver family. We wanted to invite you here tonight and thank you for everything you do for our kids in Wendell. These are very kind words. When I read it earlier, it's very kind. So thank you. We're thrilled to have you in Wendell.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Item 4B is the presentation of the proposed amendments to Policy 108, the Town of Wendell Parks and Recreation Facility, rental policies and procedures. Mr. Pulaski.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. Back in October the 11th, staff presented a recommendation changes for the Policy 108 to the Town of Wendell Parks and Recreation rentals policies and procedures. The board discussed the issue and provided policy direction regarding the impact of alcohol use during events rented at the community center. Some of those items being eliminating early setup times, restricting hours of rental, charging a security deposit, and capping attendance was mentioned that evening. Staff reviewed the discussion and amended the proposal policy to make the necessary changes to preserve the use of alcohol for special events in the community center and address the concerns related to the impact on staff, the facility, enforcement of alcohol-related laws, and preserve greater use of time to the facility for general public. The proposed changes provided for the following based on board feedback and based on other comparative practices amongst some of our neighbors and how they're handling alcohol-related rentals. The first one being requiring the leasee to remain on site during the event. That just helps us have a point of contact if something is going astray during the event. Specifically prohibiting glitter. In the past, we've had a ban on confetti. It really kind of messes with the floor machine, and so they've kind of moved from confetti towards glitter, which does cause a lot of issues for the maintenance of the floor. Changing the event times from 12 midnight to end of the event being at 9 p.m. Tie the fee to the rate set in the Town of Wendell fee schedule, which is updated yearly with the budget. Requiring a licensed bartender or caterer with a bartending license to serve alcohol. Eliminate brown bagging and coolers for the obvious reasons of not allowing them to bring in their own alcoholic beverages. Eliminate the use of glass containers for alcohol, which does reduce our maintenance time and cleanup time and does help with safety concerns. Limit the event time from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Previously, the event times were from 3 p.m. to 12 o'clock p.m. Maintain the use of the Wendell Police, private security, and Parks and Recreation staff consistent with the fee schedule rates and appropriate alcohol permits are received. Requires insurance consistent with the town policy and levels for those special events. Establishes a 3-hour setup time from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. This is also different than in the past, as they were allowed to purchase extra hours of setup time going into Friday afternoons. They could buy those extra hours at an additional cost. Set the event capacity at 250 people above the age of 5. We can track that by giving the renter 250 wristbands, town logo of some sort on those. That way we can monitor who's coming in and out. If someone doesn't have a wristband, they could be asked to leave, but that way we know how many people are in our building. Maintain noise level requirements at 95 decibels to reduce the nuisance impact on neighboring activities and properties. And lastly, to set the emission ticket fee consistent with the fee schedule and exempts for nonprofits. I also attached the strike-through copy of what these proposals would look like on the page, and it did become a little cumbersome to read, so I also attached what it would look like with those strike-throughs implemented for you guys to view. And tonight is just a presentation and for feedback on kind of how you feel about this new alcohol policy inside the Wendell Community Center.
Any comments from the board?
I have a couple questions.
Yes.
Thanks, Jeff. Just run through a couple of quick questions, if that's okay. Can you just talk about how bartending licensing works? That's not something I'm familiar with.
Yeah, you have to have proper ABC permits to serve alcohol, to be a licensed bartender or caterer. That way, it's taking the liability off. In the past, alcohol was just kind of bussed around and put on tables and left. But we're requiring a licensed bartender or caterer to be on site. They're monitoring what is going out.
On the 250 capacity,
Yes.
what's the fire code capacity?
It's about 536, I believe is what it is.
And then the 9 o'clock end time, how does that compare to sort of current demand and current practice? I'm sure there are outliers and folks that go to the end.
Most people are
current.
ending about that 9 o'clock,
Okay.
that 9 o'clock hour. Our cutoff time in the past was midnight, which put our staff starting to clean at midnight,
Right.
which now this would be a drop dead time of 9 to allow staff and all the caterers and stuff to pack up and get out of the building and allow my staff to be able to get home at a decent time.
Thank you.
Jeff, I have a few things. With the alcohol can be served or consumed in glass containers, I just think about with events, pouring wine. How does something like that work? Does that mean?
That would be a bartender serving wine, but it would be
Okay.
in a plastic container.
Okay, so that would still be, glass bottle would still be okay if it's being
Yeah.
poured from that. I know pre-COVID, it seemed like a lot of the center was booked a lot of weekends in a year. How have those numbers been just in the past, 6, 12 months as far as reservations and bookings?
We haven't booked anything this size just because of COVID restrictions indoors, so we
Okay.
haven't rented to a party that would be of this size anytime recently.
Have you had a lot of requests or a lot of?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Just a couple, and this maybe for Jim. Jeff, I understand what you're talking about, which is an off-premise special use alcohol permit from the ABC board. I'm not aware of anything in 18B that has a bartender license component on it. I know there's a lot of third parties that offer that. I could see where maybe we were trying to say a third party with a appropriate ABC permit. But the parentheses there in section A where it says with a bartending license is, just maybe look over that and double check that wording, because I don't know that permit type, or I'm not familiar with it. Jeff, do you have, so like, I can think of a couple events that town puts on, but do you know of existing events that we've hosted, let's say in the past 2 years, that would not be able to exist under the new policy?
In the past 2 years since COVID, no.
Okay, well,
Pre-COVID, we would probably have 6 to 8 events that would be affected by the capping of 250 people.
I'm thinking of a couple of it, like Ducks Unlimited.
They're not close to those numbers. I think the last one they turned in was about 150 is what they predicted to be there.
Okay. I appreciate a lot of the additions there. Seems like an odd thing to cap it lower than the fire capacity to me. Like, if you've gone through all of these steps, you've got our police officers there, that seems like an odd restriction, but I'm happy to go along if that's staff's and the board's leisure. Those are my comments. Oh, I'm sorry, one more. the leasee is responsible for, someone who's drunk and disruptive. I just don't understand what that implies. Under this situation, they've hired a police officer who's there, and then the definition of this is someone who's drunk and disorderly and disruptive, which would seem to me to be our problem by definition of the fact that we have a police officer there and we're defining it as the same thing that the general statute defines it as. So maybe look at A and M for me. Just check those wordings. Otherwise, thank you.
Just for clarification, the staff conversation around those 2 points deal with who's responsible for the serving of alcohol. A licensed bartender is required to not overpour or overserve people. And so the responsibility of someone is overserved is on the event at that point and would reduce the risk to the taxpayer in the town with that language. And that's the limit there, is still allowing the alcohol activities, but making sure that the risk is placed on the appropriate party rather than just a large unlimited with people bringing lots of different alcohol from outside and no one's checking on how much is being poured, is what's happened in the past. This provides a means to which a license can be checked, and there's responsibilities under that license and appropriate behavior for an event can occur within a public setting. That people can go to other venues for larger, more impactful events. We're thinking about impact on gym floor, the amount of alcohol that can be served over what period of time, to how many people, and what kind of security is required to keep that in check based on events we've dealt with in the past. That was the conversation from staff, but we're willing to look at whatever the board would like.
I would suggest like the permittee and their agents is language I've seen used before. So it's whoever holds that permit, because obviously they're going to have gotten the permit.
Okay.
And then it tracks from them, which would, I think, achieve both goals.
One last quick question.
Yeah.
I know that COVID has probably made this a little bit difficult, but are there any perennial renters that we work with on a regular basis or have in the past that you've reached out to sort of discuss any of these changes?
No, sir. Just other communities and just getting feedback from the board back in October.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah.
Real quick, thank you for this.
Yeah.
Talk through, I know we've discussed a lot about security deposit, and it's going to be reflected in the fee schedule?
Yes, sir. There would be a security deposit installed in the new fee schedule for this type of a rental.
Okay. So that is a TBD sort of thing at this point?
Yes, but it is worked into it. That was part of the part of that, and not this plan.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Do y'all have everything you need?
What that language provides with the fee schedule references is that if there is a change in a fee schedule, we don't have to come back and amend this policy also. It's just your annual fee schedule review as part of the budget, and that's where y'all would review all fees and any fee changes. So any change in fee would be reported out like any other fee change in the budget process.
It's wise to have it tied to that.
That's why all the verbiage change in there was, it used to read exact amounts. So anytime that would change, we would have to go back and change it in a policy and bring it back to you. So with that verbiage change, it would change as that policy changed.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's move into section 5. Item 5A is a public hearing on Blueprint Wendell 2030 Comprehensive Plan. Mr. Coates.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm excited to be before you tonight to discuss Blueprint Wendell. We've been working on this for 2 years. It was in the 2019 strategic plan that you all had adopted as a priority for the town. Our consultants, Meg Nealon and Scott Lane, are here this evening. As I said, this was started 2019 strategic plan. The last update to the comprehensive plan was in 2007. A lot of things have changed. Moving forward, we anticipate changing the comp plan and looking at it often throughout the next 10 years. Blueprint Wendell has created a clear vision of the community in 2030. The plan will guide future land use, transportation, parks, recreation, open space, community character, business development, community facilities, infrastructure and utilities, and natural resources. As I said, it's a 2-year process. We had a website, blueprintwendell2030.com, where we placed multiple surveys throughout the process. We held various community events. COVID did kind of change how we had to engage the community, but we did various meeting in a box, which was a large envelope that we gave out at the treat trail so people could take it home, mail their survey results and activities back. We also hit up a lot of newsletters with the survey link. We did paper surveys that people came into town hall and requested. So we did a wide variety of outreach. We also held a 3-day virtual charrette. Last summer, we did hold a community event at the community center to gather input in between COVID swings. And so the plan before you tonight is a compilation of the last 2 years of looking at our history, looking at our assets and land development, as well as our future goals and recommendations. The consultants, Meg and Scott, are here. They've been working on this process. They've been awesome to work with. And so I'm going to turn it over to them, and we'll kick the presentation off, and then we can field any questions that you all have and conduct the public hearing as well.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Coates. I'm Scott Lane. I'll start us off tonight, and it's a pleasure to be here again. Worked in Wendell a few times now, and it's always fantastic to see it and come back. Hopefully you've all had a chance, I'm sure you have, to take a look at the draft report that was sent to you and understand a little bit more about it and what went into it. Our job tonight is kind of to go over some of the key pieces of that and obviously let you ask questions when we get to that point. So the vision here on the left-hand side, we talked to an awful lot of people, had a lot of interviews, 715 survey responses, a steering committee that met 5 times, and from that developed a list of 5 goals that are pretty overarching. And then a number of strategies on the left-hand side you can see on this screen, this slide. And then towards the end, we kind of married a lot of that verbiage back into 5 goals that will come into play a little bit later in the presentation. But effective growth management, conservation of community assets, high-level connectivity, and that connectivity word means a lot of different things, from broadband internet access to walking and biking and car travel too. But economic vitality is obviously very important to every community. It certainly is here. A lot of different nuances on economics. And quality of life and equity. And we spend a lot of time defining what quality of life means to people and every one of these that we tackle. And we learned a lot about Wendell that we'll talk about in the presentation. One of the things we like to do and have learned to do, probably the hard way, is some point about the one-third mark in these processes is take a pause and think about what we've heard from all the surveys, all the public input, steering committee, and so on. And from that, we gather together a lot of directions that are shown here, and it's shown in the report. A lot of these images, by the way, are actually in the report. We tried to make the presentation that way on purpose. So some of the big ones, we're growing. That's no news to anybody. But how do we want to do that? And how do we want to manage that? Growing from the center, the downtown area here of Wendell is the envy of many a community, not just in the Triangle, but really across the state that I've worked in, or other states too. But understanding the importance of downtown, how that really plays out, and how to leverage that and understand it and preserve the great parts of it. Growing green. This middle one on this slide is got to be, if there's a vote getter or winner, then growing green is really important, and staying green. Understanding about conservation of lands. And then growing within the region. We are not alone. We are part of a complex web of services ranging from the city of Raleigh for utilities, and somebody else for bus transit, and somebody else for a different thing. And we all travel. Many of us travel outside the community every day to go to work, Monday through Friday anyway. And so understanding how we can build those partnerships is also pretty instrumental in our thinking on the plan. What was also useful for this kind of process was thinking about how that all translated into a future land use and conservation map. And for this, we'll let Meg Nealon take it over from here and talk to you about this and the place types and the different things that go into that.
Great. Thank you, Scott. Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to make this presentation. We're pleased to present this to you, and I get to tell you a little bit more about the details of the map that you see in front of you. We call the Future Land Use and Conservation Map. It tends to be one of the key components of a plan like this. It is a reflection of that future development pattern and answers that question of how will we grow. It emerged through this process over the couple of years that the plan came together, and it's a reflection of what people in the community are saying they'd like to see in the future of Wendell. So, and I'll come back to the place types or the land use categories that you see listed on the side. But it's also recognition of some of the things that we learned about the land in the study area, as well as the market conditions and so on. So when all of those come into play, and we look at those range of uses that the community is looking for, and the things that the community wants to conserve over time, there are definitely places where certain types of development should exist, and other places where conservation is the priority. So you see that map with many colors representing those different places that are depicted, ranging from activity centers to places for employment, different types of housing areas, and last but not least, a wide variety of green spaces. And so with that, it's a guide for the future of development. It is not the zoning map. It certainly can lay the groundwork for amendments to achieve this vision. But those place types are where we want your attention, and how those have arranged themselves. Actually, I'm going to back up for 1 second. Some of the things that you should see in the pattern of this development, just at a glance, in this development pattern, are some centers that exist or are already emerging, and I'll talk about those. There are also some places for housing of different intensities. There are also places of employment that are taking advantage of the access that this community has and the infrastructure that's available. So those in combination, we think, will set you up for the change over time that is reflective of what this community was asking for through the process. So the place types that you see, we've gone from calling them land use categories to place types because of the characteristics that are described for each of these. And so in getting into the place types, downtown, for example, is the one that's the largest on your screen. We've described that in terms of the core and the fringe. It is only in downtown, and describing it in terms of the mix of uses, the types of open space, the circulation pattern, the scale, and so on is what makes that place its own special place within Wendell. The descriptions for all the other places are different. So as you read through those, what you will see is, again, a wide range of characteristics that go well beyond land use, and you do have that change both in terms of the mix, but also the intensity of development that's described, the amount of open space that's part of it, and the accessibility is addressed. So oftentimes we hear from folks through the process, well, what does that really mean when you see it on a map? So through the process, we selected 4 places that we call focus areas to look at in a little bit more depth and give a little bit better explanation of what it means to have these place types on the ground. So we're going to show you some of those concepts that are in the plan, keeping in mind that they are just that. They are concepts. So the descriptions mean that they could play out in a wide variety of ways. This is just one of a few ways that you might see development on the ground in each of these focus areas when they adhere to the descriptions of these place types and the principles that go along with that. So the first of those is downtown. Very special place, not like any other place in Wendell, and that's the right way to be, because this is the center of the community, and as we heard through the process, people of Wendell want downtown to be that central gathering place. They want it to be the place where the whole community comes together. That's where you expect the greatest mix of uses, a lot of vibrancy, and the places where, from a civic standpoint, a lot of your programming takes place and is delivered. So this concept describes keeping a lot of the structure that you already have here in your downtown. It's actually pretty exciting to drive through on a Monday night and see so much energy already in your downtown and so many more opportunities. You have really great bones here, great businesses coming into the mix, and even some housing. So as you grow with that and build on that, that success is going to keep growing. So this acknowledges that and finds those places for some complementary infill development, but also focuses on your public realm. So what's suggested in this illustration is the idea that your public spaces, including your streets, are a really important piece of this overall destination within your community. It is one of a few centers that are described in the plan. This is another one. It's truly a gateway into the community. And when you think about the access that the highways provide, it's a chance to make a statement about Wendell and make sure that that perception is in the messaging that you do at that gateway is what you want it to be. Now, this is an employment opportunity, and you've got this great asset of Wake Tech coming into this area. And with that, the collaboration, you can imagine with the businesses that could locate here, not just because of the infrastructure, but also because of that potential relationship with Wake Tech. So we see some opportunities for a wide range of employment here, but we're also seeing that across the United States, your employment nodes are more successful and more competitive when they too offer a mix of uses. So I'm going to point out with this, and I should have done it on the previous one, but let me just show you. This little diagram indicates what you're looking at. So this centerpiece road right here is new alignment extending south from Rollsville Road. So if you're standing here on Wendell Boulevard and looking south, you're at this intersection looking south. And off in the distance off the screen is the rail line. So this land opens itself up to employment of different types, as well as a mix of uses around a core area that offers a green space that can be amenitized. One of the things that we found is that when businesses are locating in this type of environment, they have a lot easier time recruiting the talent that they're seeking. So this can be that place where you find that blending of education and business comes together, and that collaboration is fostered here, but also it becomes an amenity for the flanking neighborhood. So it has more of a life beyond the 8 to 5 environment during the week. This is another place, again, another way of entering into the community on the east side along Marshburn Road. So I'm going to point out a little bit of detail here. This, at the edge of the top edge of the screen, is Marshburn. South is to the left, north is to the right. And so this is described as a development area that, again, amenitized, but in a different way. This one is flanked by more of the flex space, flex tech, industrial type of light manufacturing. And the road network that you have through here already lends itself to that accessibility to 87, but also being able to bring truck traffic in sort of through a back door, and this also serves as a front door into the community and into the neighborhoods that exist today and could exist around it in the future. So this is the type of space that could have some of that activity on evenings and weekends and act as a neighborhood center, not just an employment center. A third one is the fourth one is the Wendell Falls Parkway at Eagle Rock. This is one of those centers that we've described as more of a neighborhood center, but what you're seeing in the surrounding area is some opportunities for residential. So the attached single-family townhouses, some apartments a little bit off the screen. But the idea that you bring a neighborhood center into an area where it already wants to be and suggest that there's an organization to it that doesn't negatively impact the road network, and instead the description is one where you would want to through the local streets and private drives, set up a network that keeps those local trips within the development instead of pushing all of them out to the arterial roads. So just to orient you, we are looking at Eagle Rock running north-south right here. This is Wendell Falls Parkway coming into downtown. So if you're coming up out of Johnston County in this direction, this is the intersection we're already seeing a lot of traffic coming in this way and making that left turn to go down Wendell Falls Parkway. So this corner sets up well for a grocery anchored center with its inline tenants and some flanking development that might want to be with that, but you also have some opportunity for office in this location. And when you look closely, you'll see that there are, just like downtown, different scale, some public spaces that knit all of this together and bring you to some of the larger green spaces within the community. So we see that as a chance to have some walkable neighborhoods where going to the grocery store on foot or by bike is very reasonable. So it's not all car traffic that's supported by that network in the new development. So as Scott said, some of the information in this presentation is really hitting the highlights of the plan. So we wanted to touch on some of the key recommendations and just show you some of the things that we think are some of the more interesting things that could be some of your near-term activities. And one of them, I'm going to go back to the downtown conversation, and as I said before, we heard through this process that having the downtown, getting the focus on downtown to really make it the heart of the community, the place where everything happens, we heard that loud and clear. So we've given you some ideas that can be the basis for a starting point for a more detailed downtown master plan to really understand more specifically what is that full range of uses, how should infill happen, what is the public realm piece of this, how do we improve the streetscape, the pocket parks, the crossings, all those kinds of things that really make the downtown experience a positive one. A second one is the public art. You already have that emerging in Wendell, and that's something we heard from a lot of different groups how important that is, because when you're thinking about Wendell and standing out in the region, a memorable experience, and all the things that relate to quality of life, it's like those cultural aspects are also an important piece of it. So when you see that emerging, it's great to build on that, but having some guidance around that with an art master plan would help make decisions about the types of art. And we're not just talking about visual arts. It's not just murals. It's not just installations of static pieces, but instead things that can be interactive, things that can appeal to a wide variety of senses. So it can also be the performing arts. But understanding what that range is, what the appetite is within the community now and in the future, finding those ways to have that expression and those locations for it is the first step. In implementing it, the second set of recommendations has to do with that experience. So once you have those assets, helping people, whether they're visitors or residents, experience that whole system, it can come in a number of different ways. So it's being able to really put people in touch with what comes through the implementation of the master plan. Another really exciting thing that we see in Wendell and has surfaced as a key recommendation is the green space. You have some natural features here that lend themselves to some parallel networks for the greenway system that can certainly be part of the regional network, but then some of the lateral pieces that could weave it all together and make a connected system across. And connecting destinations that are not just neighborhoods or shopping destinations or downtown, but also other parks and other ways to get into the open space. And so I think it was the mayor who said that, you know, as you grow and develop over time, the green space is a really important aspect of this development pattern. People need room to breathe, right? So that's the thing that we think that it's a perfect time to really delineate that, understand the full range of assets, and think about all the different ways that new green space can complement that. And it really becomes an integral part of your development pattern, not just something that's in the back that nobody ever sees or looks at or experiences. It really becomes part of how people live in this community. One of the features of that we think is so exciting is Buffalo Creek, and the idea of not just a greenway, but when you can think about that entire asset from north to south and how it links the two preserves. Those are the bookends. And what that whole experience is. We see that as a way of bringing the east and west sides of the community together in a more of a linear park that can have its own set of experiences amenitized along the way and really bring people into nature, but also do it in an organized fashion in places where it can be programmed. And then finally, about innovation, the ideas about employment within the community. There's a wide variety, but Scott, if you want to touch on the think innovation ideas and diversifying the economy here, you already have a lot to grow on, and being able to build on that is really strong.
Yeah, thank you. So we were lucky because the town had completed an economic strategy plan not that long ago, and so a number of the recommendations are echoed from that plan, and then you went out and fulfilled one of the recommendations by hiring an economic development specialist for the town, so you are beating us to the punch. But certainly one of the things we think about, and this is true of every community I've worked in Eastern Wake and other parts of Lake County, other parts of the state, is that we would love to have people stay here a little bit more often and find jobs, find services, find things we want to buy that are local. And so one of the things we thought about as we were thinking about transportation and land use and that future land use conservation map is how to make those options viable and make them grow organically over time and give people chances. And that's what a lot of these are. Each one of these recommendations, the high-level one at the top of the slide and the ones below it, have a fair amount of text underneath them inside the plan. So it's not just these bullets. It goes a little bit more in depth about what each one of these means. This is cross-cutting. All these are cross-cutting. One very quick example, expand the brand. Well, what does that mean? Well, every community I've worked with, particularly the ones in Eastern Wake County, they always want to stand out from the other guys. It's not that they don't like them, it's just they want to have their own identity. And there are several ways of doing that here. The history is fantastic, but also the green space. But the chance to be kind of the public art community in this area. Not that many places are really chasing that. So you guys have a great start already, well past a start actually. So that was Think Innovation. There are, I just counted twice, so I'm pretty sure this is correct. There are 95 strategies in all represented here that we touched on very quickly. We also made a 2-pager that 11 by 17 that the staff can take, put in the wall and say, okay, are we doing these? Are these getting done? And I mentioned earlier in my part that we come back to the goals. It all comes back to the goals. So at the right-hand side of each one of these pages in the tan slots, you can see the 5 goals and how each one of the strategies strongly or doesn't quite as strongly tie into that goal and support it. So there are 12 of these. Again, we just went through those. So people always ask, and I think your planning board did the same thing. So Scott, how do you implement these things? You've done this before, right? How do people implement? So you don't try to do all 95. But there are some that are already in motion. Some things are moving forward. And these are some of the things that we identified as being some of the key things you can tackle fairly quickly, or at least get started on, that are probably going to be ongoing. Things like the downtown master plan that Meg mentioned, making sure there continue to be housing choices. You aren't in the position yet, a lot of communities are, where you have really a big stock of not very affordable housing. You can maybe see it coming down the road, but it's going to be a case of where you really have to have a lot of discussions about housing, and mobility is going to be key. As things grow, not just here, but around us, is going to be more important issues to consider in terms of all kinds of mobility, not just driving in a car, but other ways too. And I think that might be a good place to stop. So turn it back over to Mr. Coates and let him start the questions.
So the 3 of us can field questions that the board has, and then you can open up the public hearing.
Okay,
You have.
we'll go ahead and open the public
Okay.
hearing. And are there any questions from the board? Comments?
Hear from folks first.
Did you raise your hand? Okay, I guess there aren't any right now. Is there anybody that's here with us tonight that would like to speak? Come to the podium. You could please give us your name and address, and the lights will be green, and then it will turn yellow when you're almost out of time, red when you're out. You've got 5 minutes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me okay? My name is Brittany Marshburn, and I live at 10300 Pool Road in Wendell. Thank you guys for allowing me to speak tonight and for your time. On page 22 of the 2030 blueprint, it states that the area in and around Wendell is rich in pristine green pastures, tall trees, and open spaces that provide an enjoyable setting while walking or driving through town. These features are part of why the town has the motto, small town, big charm, not only to my family, but so many others who now call Wendell home. On page 6, the blueprint also states that we never escape our past, but in our case, Wendell should both savor its history and build on its best assets. My family and I live in what we like to consider the Lake Meyer community. Many of us have lived here our whole lives and are now raising our families here. The area is rich in history, and many people can still recall walking down to the Lake Meyer store for a Coke. A few lucky people still remember the old mill and boathouse, and some of those are actually here tonight. I think that anybody would agree that this area is really something that deserves to be preserved and not destroyed. In 2007, the Wendell Town Blueprint, the area directly west of Lake Myra all the way to Smithfield Road is listed, or close to Smithfield Road, is listed as S2, Reserved Open Space. This designation is defined as should be non-developable due to environmental, urban service, and topography reasons. Appropriate land use for S2 would be conservation areas, parks and greenways, agricultural and forestry use, and limited civic use such as a school, and very low-density residential development on large lots. So the new 2030 blueprint has this area changed to medium residential 2, which would be moderate density development with an average of 4 to 8 homes per acre. This would entail small to medium lots with single-family homes, duplexes, triplexes, and townhomes. So my question tonight would be, what changed to make such a drastic shift from the properties labeled S2 to medium residential 2? Can this change be accomplished without complete destruction of the property? And how many green pastures, tall trees, and open space would be left? Also, what would be the impact of more high-density subdivisions on the existing 2-lane roads that were not designed to handle this amount of traffic? The 2019 transportation plan suggests that a 4-lane divided thoroughfare would be needed on Pool Road at Lake Myra. If you drive up Pool Road in Raleigh, you're going to see an example of what this road expansion looks like, and it doesn't look too good. This would destroy the historical and naturally beautiful features of the area that the Lake Myra County Park is working on trying to protect, not to mention many of our homes, and probably including my own. On page 68 of the 2030 blueprint, it states that the town is going to consider the health and well-being of all current and future residents in decision-making. I respectfully ask the town to reconsider the medium residential 2 designation and consider requiring more conservation, lower density residential development in this specific area to allow for both responsible growth while protecting the current residents and the historical and environmental significance of this area. I'm not sure if anybody else plans to speak tonight, but the group to my left wanted me to say that they're here in support of my statement tonight, but I really appreciate all you guys' time and consideration.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else? You have your name and address, watch the lights.
Hi, my name is Regina Harmon. I live at 6616 Tails Branch Road, and I'm here representing several families as well. The town of Wendell has a code of ethics policy for elected officials and appointed officers. Act in the public interest, recognizing that the stewardship of the public interest must be the primary concern. Members will work for the common goal or common good of the people of Wendell and not for any private or personal interest. I brought to this board back in November of last year a petition of over 300 people that were asking for you guys to put on hold voting on anything else for at least a year till we could get everything you've already passed over the last couple of years moving forward, so we can see how it was going to affect our infrastructure and everything else going on in our community. Nobody's ever reached out to me. You didn't address it that night or anything like that. And your own code of ethics pretty much states that you should have because of the concern of the people of our community. And there was a large number of people here that night that even signed that petition. And you went ahead and you voted on, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. You went ahead and you voted on 2 major projects that are going down Wendell Falls Parkway right there at the corner of Eagle Rock Road. And then recently, you've even developed even more things that are being passed down Pool Road towards Lake Myra. Now you've got this new blueprint, Wendell 2030, that you're putting into effect. And if you guys pass this tonight, you could immediately start allowing people to come in and develop next week, passing things next week. We don't have to wait till 2030. You did this during the September 2020 year, during the pandemic. I'll be honest with you, you know that I try to stay very open-minded, and this isn't about no growth. This is about doing growth in the right way. I say that all the time, and I do mean it. But, you know, I didn't know anything about coming to these meetings or anything like that. He mentioned tonight the Halloween trick-or-treat trail, I guess in October of last year, that you passed out these kits. Well, I was there that night, It was the biggest success I've ever seen. Probably over 5,000 people showed up. We were on 3 television stations, but over 75% of those people were from out of town. So did you give those boxes to people that only lived in the 27591 zip code? Did you ask those people, did they live in the 27591 zip code, or did you just hand them out randomly? How did you get this information out to people? Did you send letters home to the individuals that live in the area? Because didn't get one. I know none of my family got one, and this is all going to affect us out there. I'm not sure if anybody else here got one of those letters. And then let's talk about the steering committee that you guys put into place for this. How did you get the people on the steering committee? I mean, was it something available for people to, reach out and get involved in? Because, right now, I'm not sure if this is a conflict of interest, but you've got Deans Eatman, who was on the planning board at that time. He was on the steering committee, and now he's a commissioner going to get to vote on this tonight. So, I got a little bit of concern with that. I know that none of this project is saying that we're getting this house or this developer or that developer, but during the fact that this was done during the COVID time frame, and you only had 700 to 1,000 people to interact with this, I would hope that you guys would take a step back, open this back up, and let people put in a little bit more opinion to this. Due to the fact that you only had 700 to 1,000 people out of a community that's over 20,000 plus, and there's a large amount of them that live in that area. We're not saying we don't want growth. I've never said I don't want growth. I just want growth done in a manner that allows us to grow properly. And I would like to ask the board to not vote on this tonight, put it off, give us time to look into it. I would like to get some independent studies done, even if I have to pay for it myself. Listen, don't sit up there and laugh at me.
Norman, don't be addressing individuals on the board. You shouldn't have done that with Mr. Eatman.
Okay, fine, but he didn't have the right to laugh back.
Well, you can talk about that later. You're waiting.
Need constitutional rights.
Listen now, okay? I want to make sure none of this is being done, and make sure it's being done properly.
Thank you. Your time's up. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am. Whoever. Come on.
After you, ma'am.
Always a tough act to follow, Regina.
You name and address?
Yeah, Tina Cheek, 213 Daniel Ridge Road. And I'm actually excited about this plan. I'm glad the town started the project when they did. There are a lot of towns out there that are seeing the growth and starting the plan now. And as you can tell, you guys know it's a 2-year process normally, and that puts them kind of behind the 8 ball. So I think I'm proud of the town for doing that. I'd also like to commend the staff on gaining the amount of public comment that they did, even with the constraints that were placed on everyone during COVID. So definitely a lot of out-of-the-box thinking, and so I appreciate that. I'm excited about the opportunity for the linear park along Buffalo Creek, the parks and open space, and activating spaces that may otherwise go unused within this plan. So I really enjoy seeing all of that. And I was also impressed by the mix of goals and objectives that were set by a combination of the surveys, the interviews, and the steering committee itself. So there seemed to be a lot of input. You don't typically get a huge number of folks when you do surveys and things like that. So I feel like the responses that you received were more than adequate. So I was excited to see that. But that's it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anyone else? Yes, sir. Give me your name and address, please.
All right. I'm Greg Jones, 6141 Robertson Pond Road, Wendell. Just outside this new dotted line on the map that I like seeing today. I just want to highlight a few things for everyone. It is their job to plan for our future. It is crucial so that we don't keep getting behind on infrastructure and different things. But I looked over this 138-page document today, and it didn't take me long to realize this is about as close to Disney World as it gets. In reality, it would take a huge amount of money to pull off all these nice renderings of trees and parks and people and cars and all the new public transit, all the things at the cost of the taxpayers. We should be spending our time focusing on creating jobs to sustain what we already have and not continuing to fall into debt throughout this county, this town, this nation as a whole. One of the most striking things in this report I found was on page 66. The very top, the average median home price in this area is $165,000. However, only 17.7% are at poverty. Now, with Clayton, their median home house rate is only $175,000, $10,000 more, but they're only at 8% poverty. So, I'm trying to figure out how we're going to have all these fancy growth models and all this high density this and high density that and public transit when our base, 17% of it, is in poverty. This is what we need to be working on, people. Now, one page after another page constantly shows where we should be applying for grants and different things. I just want to make the public aware that grants is your tax money, okay? And if you're asking for grants to sustain something, you're asking the taxpayer to sustain it. So I agree with Regina. Let's get more input on this. Let's don't take action tonight. I was not aware of it, and as well, a lot of you know, I'm pretty much in the know in Wake County, but this has been a tight, closed-loop section of information. Now, I don't live in town, you're right, so I probably shouldn't know as much as I do. But it really concerns me that we can put these drawings, these artwork, all this paper out into the public and sell people quickly on how good the future can look. I'm a realist. Let's go back and look at what's been planned in the past. Does it look like it was drawn up to be today? Let's be realistic. Let's start making sure we look after people's jobs. Where are they going to work? Most of the people in this area have to drive to Raleigh to get a job. We have to drive to Knightdale or Zebulon to get a meal that is not in a paper sack. And yes, it is improving. A lot of things have improved in Wendell because I've been here all my life. It is awesome. I'm glad to see it. But we have got to go about it the right way. We cannot just jump on something because it's presented in a fancy fashion. Look at your wordings. I challenge you. I don't know how many of you have actually read every line item in this guide, because that's all it is. It's just a guide. Still green light, right?
I know, I've read every line.
Okay, but at the end of the day, that's all I ask. I'm not here to cause trouble or cause conflict. I just want to make sure that each one of these people are represented by each one of you doing your homework. Make sure you've done your homework. If we can strike line items on alcohol policies and convenience centers and ball games, we might ought to look at this document and strike a few line items. It could prove to be valuable down the road. I thank you for your time, and I thank you for your presence and taking the time to serve your people as elected. So that's all I have to say, and I could go on for a while, but that's enough for tonight. Thank you very much.
Anyone else? Yeah.
Jason Williams, 201 West Lane. And I don't know if this question's for the town manager or the planning director. Did we get any other drafts of plans for the town? Or did we just get this one and this is what we're going with?
So during public comment, no one's going to answer any question you ask. You just...
So when do we get the answers?
I'll also point to like the third page of this plan, highlights every other plan that went into this plan.
Okay.
So there's six, at my count, at least 6 other plans.
6 other plans that we chose out of.
No, 6 other plans that went into making this plan that were previously reference plans, transportation plan.
Okay, so I know being a state employee, like if we bid something out, we have to have multiple people bid on a project. Did we take bids on a project and we just chose these people and that's where we're at? I don't know, so just a question. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening, folks. My name is John Olson. I live at 115 Maddox Street in Wendell. And first of all, I'd like to start off by thanking you for appointing me to this steering committee now 2 years ago. Actively participated on it. Tremendous amount of insight from town staff as well as the consultant. They were very outstanding at managing the task that was given to them through the process that we undertook as a town to find somebody that could do this. And they've given us a lot of very practical and implementable concepts for our community. Meg and her staff, they embraced the desires of the community that they got from community feedback, and I think you'll see that on nearly every page of this document. Planning staff went to extraordinary means, even during a pandemic, to create opportunity for involvement of all citizens through various and very insightful sometimes means to do that. And the priorities based on that citizen input are the fundamental drivers within this plan. At the March Planning Board meeting where we reviewed this plan, I personally invited the public by social media to come, listen, see, and ask questions, something we don't traditionally do within that forum. Some that attended chose to speak, and again seized that opportunity to participate in the process. Additionally, each member of the Planning Board provided feedback on the plan, and it was unanimously recommended to be forwarded to you for action tonight. As you've heard, there are those that will not be happy with the entire direction in this plan. But it's not your responsibility as government leaders to ensure individual happiness. It is your job to lead with public participation and use plans such as this to guide your future actions and ensure that town government does what it says it is going to do. Smart growth is a buzzword that each of you have heard a lot of in recent years. This is not just a plan, is it a tool? It is a tool that defines what smart growth will look like in Wendell for the next decade. I ask you tonight to not only embrace and endorse this plan, I ask you to provide town staff with the necessary resources and support to implement this plan, including a much-needed, long overdue, comprehensive revision to our Unified Development Ordinance. Growth is here. This plan defines how we want to direct that growth. It is your job now to make that happen, and folks, that is being smart. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Name and address, please.
Jim Parker, 6317 Weathers Road, out of the district, out of the voting parameter, and apparently out of contact, because I didn't know anything about any of this. And we want to hear about how many people had written and got online and all this stuff. I think what y'all should be really worried about is growing like the only thing I heard them say that made sense, from the inside out. Because hopscotching 5 miles outside of you're even outside of your 3 mile district, and you want to come out there and tell us in the county what to do, just like some of these folks over here. So I would just say y'all need to think about what you're going to do and cut out this 3-2 vote stuff that just goes on and on and on, and let's have some open conversation about it and not just keep pinning it down and not giving the people a chance to get involved, because I don't think as many people are involved as what y'all think they are. Thank you.
No clapping.
You know,
We don't, no, sir, we don't do that. I can't let it get started, it'll get away from us. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Hello, good evening. My name's John Parks. I live at 2300 Eagle Rock Road. And I'll just say I hadn't planned on coming tonight nor speaking because I didn't even know about this until really just a few hours ago. My wife and I live just outside of town. We live out in the unincorporated part of the county and love living here. We have 5 children and I own my own business. Love being here. We have been a part of this larger community for about 8 years. And just, we came here from elsewhere in the county. And we chose this place. And I just want to tell you very quickly, I could tell you all about how I didn't know, I didn't hear, I think those are valid points. I also understand, as a citizen, part of that responsibility is on me. So I'm busy, I just didn't know, So I spent a lot of time today trying to get caught up to speed on this. So I didn't have time to read every line in the document, but I've tried to get as good a summary as I possibly could. But the one thing I thought might want to come and just share with you tonight is why it is that my family and I chose to come and move to this community. And honestly, it's because it was quiet and there's space. And I don't mean space like space for me to plump down a house. We bought a 40-plus-year-old home, and we did that with intention. We didn't want to build something new. We were looking for an awesome home. We found it. We love living there, but we also didn't want to build something brand new. I live just down the hill from a house that's I think it's like 200 years old, and we enjoy being there. We spend a lot of time outside. It's wonderful to be able to walk out at night, look up at the night sky, and I can see the stars. And I don't have to hear neighbors, and I don't have to hear everything else that's going on. So my concern, just from what I've seen here and what I've been able to read today, is that I think we're at risk of potentially destroying some of that. And you've heard some of those comments already tonight. I just want to add my voice to that as well, to say that I really think that you should give some consideration, particularly to your outer fringes of what you're doing, because I can't vote for you all. I have no voice. I appreciate being able to come and speak here tonight, but we have no say. But yet, this is things that are being thrust upon us, potentially. I understand that it's just a plan, but it's not really what we're looking for. And I would sure hate to see this cause my family to have to pick up and to move once again, because we like being a part of this community. We've been warmly embraced and frankly would love to stay here. So just ask that you just give that some consideration, that there are people that actually choose this because it doesn't look like Cary. There are people that choose this because it doesn't look like downtown Raleigh. There are people that choose this place because it's not heavily planned. There's not a tree and a shrub and every exact perfect little space like you would think. Instead, it's just a wonderful community with great people that care. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Amanda Marshburn Allen. I live at 6933 Lake Myra Road. I mainly just came here tonight in support of Brittany Marshburn, and I agree with Mr. Parks as well, everything that they commented. I didn't have any planned speech, but I did want to just point out that the Marshburn family, the reason I live here is our family has been part of this community, part of Wendell, at least since the 1800s. My dad and my uncle was here, can tell me for sure, but I live on farmland that my grandparents farmed. I live on the land where there's a Civil War veteran buried, and that is what we are trying to preserve, the history of Wendell, the tobacco farming history, the land, the agricultural history. Right down the road, the store that's into Lake Myra where I used to go and fish from the pier. That is what we as residents in this part of the town want to preserve. One of the lines that my husband sent me that we found, I find personally offensive, is in the document, in the 2030 plan. It says supply. Land in Wendell's most precious resource is irreplaceable and increasing in value. It's estimated that 13,500 acres in Wendell are vacant or have the potential to redevelop to a more intense use. Lands classified as high potential for redevelopment include agricultural lands without a building on them now. Lands for potential for redevelopment include other agricultural lands, residential lots greater than 10 acres in size, and lots with manufactured homes. This statement makes us feel like there's a target on our back and that there's a target on the history that we are trying to preserve, and that is the agricultural history of Wendell. Thank you.
let's hear from some more from the planning staff and consultant, whoever would like to go first, if you want to address any of these concerns.
Yeah, I can talk about some community engagement.
Yeah.
Just overall, the town certainly used our own social media, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, did well over 25 posts on the comp plan. We did quick point surveys asking people just to give us some feedback. We created a website. We promoted that website. We placed it in any newsletter that would have us, including senior center, town newsletters, various publications. Our community outreach included community events. The treat trail that we attended and gave out packets was in 2020, which the treat trail in 2020 was only open to town residents, and so we did give out packets. We were not at the treat trail in 2021. We held stakeholder meetings with community members on various topics, whether it be historic preservation, economic development, and other topics downtown. We met with various downtown business owners as well. And those stakeholder meetings were started in the summer of 2020. We held them all virtually. We also consulted our neighboring jurisdictions, Knightdale and Zebulon, and Wake County throughout the process. We got, for the survey, the one survey alone, we had over 700 responses, but we also did 4 different surveys, plus we did pulse questions where we said, you know, how important are greenways to you, and got feedback. So there were lots of various survey instruments used. We used publicinput.com, which we also had translated into Spanish for those of our community members who English may not be their first language. They got to respond to surveys in Spanish. We also promoted other surveys throughout the process. Northeast area study was going on at the same time with Campo that involved Wendell and the other communities of Northeast Wake, including Wake Forest, Rollsville. And so we actually looked at some of their survey responses to questions as well throughout the process from Wendell residents. And Wake County, during the 2020 census, did some outreach to the eastern part of the county, which traditionally has a lower census response rate, to try to improve that. They garnered over 200 survey responses where people wanted to learn more about their community. So we actually emailed them the survey, 200 people directly the survey, and invited them to participate as well. They were living in county jurisdiction, but also in Wendell's jurisdiction. So pandemic slowed us down a little bit in how we communicated with people, but we actually feel like we did a really great job of reaching a large variety of the community through various techniques. And so if you guys have any questions on community engagement, I can field those questions at the moment.
Right. Any questions about the community engagement?
Brandon, the number that I heard, 700 to 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
What's the current population of the town?
Current population from the census for 2020 was around 9,900. We probably are closer to 11 or 12,000 today. But during the survey, the large survey, we had over 700 responses.
So roughly 10%.
Yeah, yes. And that was just from that survey. That didn't include the number of people who attended events, including our Lego workshops, where students built Wendell and their parents took surveys. We also had a 3-day charrette online. We did community center where most of you, I think all of you attended, and we had residents come in person. So we had well over 1,000 to 1,500 probably throughout the whole process.
A couple of these areas, though, are not within our city limits, so our population numbers, that kind of throws that off a little bit to me. I mean, I want to know how we reach some of these outlying areas. I'd like to know that.
Yeah, so our social media, whether you follow Wendell, Facebook, or Instagram, that survey links go out to whoever follows our page, which is thousands of people. Not all of them live in our city limits. Not even all of them live in Wake County. So there's various ways for people outside of our city limits to get access to our surveys. We also, the list from Wake County included a lot of people who don't live in our city limits. And people, when our social media, when we post, we're having an open house for the comprehensive plan from 4 to 7 at the community center, anyone could attend. It was not limited to in town. And our social media didn't say anything related to in town or out of town. It was like Wendell community at large.
Wendell Wonderland is also, weren't we there for that?
Yes,
I'm pretty
in
sure
20,
we had a tent.
yeah, in 20, yes, Wendell Wonderland 2021, yes.
Yeah.
21? Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about what a comprehensive plan is?
Mm-hmm. So a comprehensive plan lays out goals and objectives for the future of the town in a high level. So for example, when you look at recommendations, it will say, create greenways and park space that is equitable to the community. You won't see it literally laying down exact where a greenway needs to go. Those come in details through our UDO or through other kind of plans that will dictate the exact locations of things. The comp plan is used to guide our growth and policies at a very high level. So when you see on a plan that a classification, let's say, is medium density residential 1 or 2, that just means if the land is going to change, that's what we anticipate the change to be. It does not mean your farmland that's currently there has to change. It doesn't even mean we want it to change. It just means that if it were to change, that is the land use that we would prefer at that location. So when you see innovation, that is an area near Wake Tech that we would love to see job creation. And by job creation, it's defined what that means. So you'll see industrial, you'll see retail, you'll see a mix of uses in that innovation district. But the plan is a high level with goals and objectives and a future land use map for the town.
So if land is never sold and developed, what happens there?
It stays at its current use.
Whatever that may be.
Whatever that may be.
Could you say that one more time, like all together?
Yeah, so if the land is currently, let's say, farmland, and it's never sold.
Or woods?
Or woods, or a single-family house on 10 acres.
Yeah.
If it is not sold, and a development is not proposed for it, the use stays. If it does change, then the land use classification would apply on that future development.
And one point of clarification, if that's okay. Who, you said if a development is not proposed, who would propose the development? Would that be the town?
No. No, it would be private developers would propose it.
So the owner of the property?
Yes, or, yeah, whoever the owner
someone who
may
has
be.
a property
Yes.
interest, not
Yes.
the town? Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yep. Yeah, we're not constructing these medium-density neighborhoods or those type of commercial uses.
Is there a process available? I know, I'm trying to get information out to people. Is there a process in place where if there's something in this plan that was, something was brought to the town that maybe was a little bit different from the plan, what would they do? What would happen?
They could certainly email or call our staff, send us their idea and their recommendation, and we can present that to you. We have a person did email earlier today about that near Coyote. They would like their property to be classified as employment for part of it and medium-density residential for part of it, and that was their request.
So that option is available
Mm-hmm.
for the board to make the decision to
It
maybe
is.
do something different?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So this is, it's a guide and a tool, but it isn't carved completely in stone. That may be an accurate way to describe it.
So you can also amend the plan in the future.
Yes.
So as part of, let's say the classification is innovation, and the classification does not want single-family housing there. Let's say a developer says, I want to put single-family there, I don't care what your plan says, and I'm going to present that to the board. So that would get presented to you as a rezoning and a land use plan amendment, and you as a board could decide if you want that change or not. And every land use plan change would get presented to you and the planning board as well.
And when we have plans that are brought to us, it always is included in our packet that this conforms with these various plans or does not.
Correct.
So that would be the purpose of this plan, would be to kind of guide the
Mhm.
board.
That's in accordance with your plan or it's not.
Right.
And you would have to make that decision as a board.
Decide
Mhm.
to not, you can decide to still approve it even if it doesn't, even if it doesn't go in accord with the comprehensive.
Correct. Mhm.
And I would like to point out, I mean, it's not, we can state it different ways, but it's not the end-all, be-all. And the comment was even made when we got started, it could play out in a wide variety of ways. This is not black and white, this is miles from what we have now. And I guess from a Commissioner Deloach standpoint, I understand that people, maybe didn't hear about it, didn't see about it, chose not to talk about it, whatever the case may be. It's not my job to judge whether that's valid or not. I am always the proponent of giving folks time. So, yeah, you're not going to hear me say anything different tonight. If it's, quote me however you want. I've said it 100 times. 10 days, 10 weeks, 10 months, as long as we get it right. So I'm proud of this. I'm proud of Planning Board. You heard our planning chairman. I was here for that meeting. I heard some of the same folks here tonight speak that night. I heard all the planning board members speak as well. We're being transparent. It's not some backdoor plan. This is a 2-year thing. So might have gotten a little off track there, but.
No, just one thing I would add is we will do updates probably yearly on where we stand on some of these goals and objectives, and also recommend updating it every couple of years, just so we stay relevant. I mean, the market changes. We saw that during the pandemic. I think one thing consultants and staff worked on was, what is the office market going to do? When we talk non-residential, are people going to return to their offices, or are people going to continue working from home? We'll know more in another year or two, and maybe we want more areas for office parks. Maybe we are satisfied with what we have, but we certainly want to revisit this comprehensive plan often, so that we're not going from 2007 to 2022 with an update. You want to make sure it's updated throughout time, and so it's a living document. It needs to change as the community changes as well. So.
I kind of get the feeling that one of the concerns that has come up when people have seen this is that it looks, I don't know what word I want to use, grandiose or kind of big. There's a very good chance that 5 years from now you may see just a very little bit of this. Don't you think that's the case?
I actually may turn this over to Meg, because I think the planning board had questions on the scope and the scale of things, and I think Meg answered that probably very appropriately on how our plan is set up, if you don't mind, Meg.
Might give a refresher on what I said. So, this at its most basic level, this plan is a communication tool, and it needs to be looked at and thought about as frequently as Brian is talking about. And so circumstances will change. So things could speed up, things could slow down dramatically. And so there are lots of factors that are out of this town's control, but there are things that are in this town's control. So what this thing does at its most basic level is a communication tool. So anybody who's coming into this community and thinking about doing something in Wendell, they first see the goals. Because if the answer is not in the plan, you at least always have the goals to go back to and look and say, is this really what we expect out of the future of our community? So that piece of it is fairly static. The recommendations, those are the kinds of things that priorities may change, but when as a communication of that future development pattern, you're right, you might not see it. You might not see any change in the next 2 years, but you also might see a ton of change in 5 years. If it does the job of being that communication tool, you've got what you need, a lens to look through when the private development, anybody from private development comes forward and says, we would like to do this here. Then you can decide, as you're saying, Mayor, yes, this is consistent with the plan, or it's not, and here are the reasons why I would support an alternative. So when you think about it, you are in a fast, and Tina Cheek said this, the timing is really perfect right now. You have got to have a tool that helps you assess the things that are coming forward, whether it's tomorrow or 5 years from now. And so when you've got that strong tool that communicates the community's expectations to the outside world and internally, you can do a much better job with all of your decision making. It's not just development approvals, but it's also your investment in public infrastructure. It's your decisions about how to steer conservation. I will also say that some of the things that you're going to be faced with the pace of growth in Wake County, and we're seeing this a lot across North Carolina, that pace of growth is such that you need to be able to have something that says we value so many features of our community that we expect the growth to happen in this area, and this is the bar we've set, and that's what we want development to look like, even if it's tomorrow, even if it's 10 years from now, so that what you do conserve, what contributes to the identity of Wendell, isn't lost over time. So that's how it should serve your needs, and if it's looked at and updated frequently, it should be a very useful tool for many years to come.
Any other questions or comments?
I've got a few things to say.
Go ahead.
And bear with me, I've been scribbling like a maniac over here, trying to write down things as they came to me. So it's a little beautiful mind over here. First off, I like what you just said about a communication tool and it being a tool to not only to developers or people coming from the outside, but also to our citizens of what our overall plan is. However, if I know many times we have things come before us as a board where it'll say, this follows your plan, this meets your plan, even if I don't like it, even if Dean or Jason or Joe or Phil or Mary Ray, none of us like it. Sometimes when it's in a plan, it becomes a little bit more of a steering tool for outside people, and I would say that's time independent. So, and I'm taking a little excerpts of somebody said, if we slam this down tonight and say I love it, and thinking more and say, well, golly, look at this medium density stuff out here on Marshburn Road, and they may look at that and think that, gosh, this looks right. Now I understand a lot of steps have to happen before that, but that still is us communicating to them and to the public that we feel like this is a good fit. And I agree with updating. I agree it should be updated annually almost, or really looked at annually, because right now things are changing so quickly. So from that standpoint, I view the Wendell and I view maps as puzzle pieces. And Mr. Parker alluded to this a little bit. He said the term hopscotching. I view it as a puzzle, and I view it as we have pieces. The pieces are laid down, pieces are in place. Our downtown's not going to change. Wendell Falls is not going to change. Wake Tech is not going to change. There's even things we've approved here as a board in the past year or two that are going to be, monumental kind of changes in this town. And so for me, I can see between these points a lot easier of what is going to go there. And so in this plan, I can have much more confidence in saying, I like that here or I like that there, and I can be more specific with our activity center types or our housing density types or recreation types or whatever it may be at that point. As we get further away from our puzzle pieces that we've done, I have a little bit more trouble committing to certain things as they vary from what they already are. And by that I mean if, and this is an extreme example, but anything outside of Pool Road, Marshburn Road, anything out there, if it looked like light green to me, I would be okay with that. Now, you may say, well, that's not what it's going to be in 30 years. But on my end, it's almost closer to that, and I think the citizens there would probably say that's closer to what they would like it to be versus what our plan would say. And I'm kind of spinning here a little bit, but I'm going to try to bring this together. I do agree that part of this what it's been needs to be still considered in these plans of what it will be. And so I do like considering that. And I do think that as much as we contacted Intel and Citizens and Facebook posts and surveys and got these people involved, and I will give credit, and you guys did an amazing job, and it is not easy to communicate something to 5 people, nonetheless a whole town. And so the fact that we had that conversation, I feel good about. But I think that, like Commissioner Deloach said, there's no harm in just keeping this open, getting this right, feeling comfortable. I feel like as a board, all 5 of us should sit up here and say, hey, we like this, let's go forward, because it's important for us as a board to be able to look at each other and, and say, this is what we laid out here. And if we don't like it, guys, and May Ray, we need to be able to kind of say, hey, we don't like this, and what could we want to move, what do we have a heartburn with, and just talk through it, like someone else said too. So I told Commissioner Joyner earlier, I don't really want to approve this tonight. I am still digesting this well put together plan myself. I still had questions as you guys were talking about it tonight too. So I don't want to approve it tonight. I would be even open to leaving the public hearing open for another 2 weeks, and then hearing if you had anything else to say between emails between now and then too, and that would be my preference. So if you guys are open to that, that would be my plan, my preference going forward. Thanks to those who spoke tonight. And Ms. Marshburn, if you wouldn't mind just emailing me what you typed out. I thought that was well said, and I'd like to kind of look back through some of that, please. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, quick reference, page 81, something I talked about briefly at the planning board meeting, but it outlines 10 and 10 priority actions from Blueprint Wendell 2030, not in any particular order necessarily. However, the first one, raise awareness of the goals and objectives in this plan with local and regional partners. So, raising awareness takes place in this room. It's been taking place for 2 years. It's residents, it's business owners, it's commissioners, planning board, staff, county, state. It's not something that we're keeping to ourselves. The key strategy is to bring awareness. And thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for speaking. We want you to have an opportunity. So just, again, when you're looking at this plan, 10 and 10, and there easily could be 20, but I think that they hit the 10 important ones. So,
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Just wanted to, and I think a lot of what I had intended on saying has been said, so I won't repeat that. It's conceptual in a lot of ways, right? I'm a little shocked that we made it all the way through public comment and no one brought up that that's what Lizard Lick is going to look like. There's some conceptual things in there that, when you look at it, don't look like what we would imagine today. That said, I know that I've heard it over time, but you guys need to be prepared. You need to know what's going to go there. You need to know what you would want there. You need to know. So this is us doing that, and it's I don't know what to say to folks that are actively involved that didn't know about this one, because it's literally been going on for 2 years. And anyone that was a part of the last election cycle, which I would also point out that about as many people participated in this plan as voted in the last election for a town race. So that's a comparison mark for you. That we want to hear that engagement. I was going to ask town staff if they'd reach out to Ms. Marshburn. The other piece, and then listening to that conservation piece, I know Commissioner Eatman can speak to it a lot better than I can, but you've likely seen the town of Wendell doing a lot of stuff with Conservation Trust. If you have a farm right now and you want that to be a farm forever, there's already, and this is the only portion that I can think of in this plan that involves a grant, but there is already a program set up that will allow you to go ahead and sign those development rights away so that you never have to do that. You never have to worry about anybody else doing it. So I'd encourage everybody to look at that and certainly reach out to our town staff who can make those connections for you as well. So anybody that wants to make their land forever a farm, you can do that and you can do it tomorrow. And there's no approval from us. There's nothing we can do about it. So that is an option, and it's an option that I think folks, if they're serious about, should pursue. The other piece is that there was a conversation to the sustainability of the plan. So obviously everything you see outside of the roadways is private, developed in the private sector, so it requires no government funds. And the roads, for that fact, are all theoretically in what we've seen, are proposed just the same way. So the town of Wendell doesn't go out and pave roads where we think that houses are going to be, or pave roads. That's not how it works. It's not how government works. So there is no need for grants to sustain this plan. As a matter of fact, I think you'll see more of the inverse of that. And to the financial perspective of it, like, one, part of the reason that we could spend the money to go out and hire, one, to ask for a long list of consultants and then hire the best consultants to come up with this plan is for a couple of reasons. One, because we've done well financially, and we want to make sure that we continue to plan and do well financially. That's the right way to do things. But I think it's important that once those plans come back, we take a look. I think that I spoke to everyone prior to the meeting tonight to say, hey, let's sit on this one, let's hear what we hear, and we'll go from there. I do think it's important, though, with the exception of one or two comments, I don't have any large changes to make to this plan. I certainly understand how folks could pop up with them. You see it, and you have them. I think that us saying that in 2 weeks, when we come back, that we can take those next steps on the plan is certainly something I'm looking to pursue at that point. But that gives us 2 weeks. So if you have the legitimate thing that you want changed, do it. But don't show up and ask for a delay in this plan so we can look at the plan more. Come prepared. We come prepared. Town staff comes prepared. Everybody comes prepared to do the work. We can get it done. And then we can go on to the rest of the things that this plan can be it can be the large plan, but we have other work to get to as well about implementing it. So certainly appreciate everyone's input. If there's anyone that has specific input or a change they'd like to see in the plan, certainly reach out to anyone on this board, but reach out to planning staff as well. Copy us on that email. Happy to be helpful in that way. But just wanted to address those. Oh, and the one other piece. Mr. Coates, does any part of this plan require eminent domain or the public taking land? Okay.
It does not, no.
I'd appreciate that, and that's certainly just so it's repeated one more time. If you have land and you don't sell land, your land will not change. It will be whatever you want it to be. If you'd like for it to forever be conserved, there's certainly programs that we can work with you to get you into, be helpful on that. And outside of that, this is an illustrative plan that will show us what the future looks like. So if you have a suggestion or you have something that you think needs to be changed, we've got 2 weeks. Let's get it done. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Real quick, I like the use of the word conceptual, because I think that's a good descriptor of what this is. It's concepts that the drawings, I think it's up there right now. I mean, it's not that precision. It's just to give us an idea. It's a concept. It's an idea of what may be there in the future. And, you know, like I said before, if you don't sell your land, nothing's going to change at your land. If something happens at any place in Wendell where development's going to take place, the developer is going to that's going to trigger some transportation improvements and things by them, not the taxpayers. That's how we take care of that. And so I think I would like to see those of you that have some concerns, if you could please contact the planning staff. And they're happy to talk to you about it and share those concerns with us. And you can email us, but what we would need to do is, if you email us, is forward it to the planning staff. So however you want to do that, that would be fine. Are there any other comments from the board? Mr. Attorney?
Yes, ma'am.
Do we need to close the public hearing or hold it open for 2 weeks? What's our best procedural move here?
That's entirely within the discretion of the board. You can do either way.
So we could just close the public hearing and be done?
Good.
Or hold it open?
Madam Mayor, did you mind leaving it open just so in case public comment
I'd like to keep
comes
it
in?
open. That's what I was gonna say to y'all, so that any other comments that come in could be
Need a
part
motion
of.
to that effect.
Okay, so, did you make, was that a motion?
I'll make that for a motion, please.
Okay, so, we have a motion to hold the public hearing open. All in favor?
Aye.
Is that, to clarify, that's till the next meeting?
Till the next board meeting on, what is that date?
April the
25th.
And just on top of that clarification, would that be another public hearing in that meeting, or it would end just before our meeting?
One.
Yeah.
It would be pick right up where we're
Continuing.
talking right now.
But it would be an in-meeting opportunity, not just in between the two times at our next meeting. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Correct. Okay.
I think if that's what, but we can, information can come in.
In between.
In between, yes. So, was there anyone opposed to that? Everyone?
No.
Okay. All right, so the public hearing is closed until our next meeting on April 25th.
Remains open.
Remains open, I'm sorry, God. Look, it's 8:41, I'm getting sleepy. So, all right, is that it?
Yes, on this item, yep.
Yes, thank you. All right. Item 6A, we're moving to our administrative items now, is a request by Simply Blush Bridal to install an interactive mural at number 2 North Main on the sidewall facing 3rd Street. Mr. Coates.
Yep. Good evening, Mayor and Board. The request by Simply Blush is to install an interactive mural at the side of their 3rd Street side on their 2 North Main Street building. A little confusing because of being at the corner there. The Board of Commissioners is requested to take action on this proposed interactive mural. At the April 4th, 2022 meeting, the Appearance Commission did review this and recommended unanimously that we move forward with this interactive mural. The mural, which you'll see an image of in a minute, consists of flowers, butterflies, and the message stating "Spread Love, Wendell, North Carolina." The applicant is proposing the mural. Total take-up is 115 square feet. It's a little less than that because there's some white space along 3rd Street. The attached image also shows the height of the text is roughly about 6 feet from the ground. Previously, when this was brought up, Appearance Commission wanted to make sure that people, when they took the selfie, the words did show. We don't want people out in the street trying to get the words in, and so their consultant worked with the layout and the design of that. It is meant to be interactive, so we anticipate the words and the logos being shared on social media, photos when people are in our downtown. It is a different kind of mural than we have. I mean, this is meant for selfies and photo ops, and it's big when you look at Nashville and the Wings. I mean, everyone goes to Nashville, Tennessee, they get their photo in front of the Wings. So having something interactive downtown is important for social media and the town's presence on social media. Mural, as it's defined in the Chapter 19 of the UDO, this is not on the primary facade, it's on the side, so it can be more than 50 square feet. It's not on a residential structure or an accessory structure. They're not proposing that it stick out into the right-of-way. It does not contain any name of any business. It does tie in, they have some butterflies which tie in with the Bearded Bee mural when it comes to that theme overall. And the mural must be recommended by a Parents Commission. In this case, it has been. Just a reminder that those buildings are in the National Register District, and there could be some tax credits for renovations and things like that as we move forward. Staff does recommend approval. You can see here's the proposed mural, and the height and the location is on this wall. I can field any questions that you have. And I don't see Betsy here with Simply Blush. She may have not been able to stay this long, but I can field any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions from the board?
I have a real quick question. The interactive portion you covered, which was, the purpose is to take pictures.
Yep.
There's parking there in front of that,
There is, yes.
and then obviously the road is there. So is this something that has been, since they moved the words down, we've tested and we're good and
I think
not going
we've-
to interfere with parking and/or traffic?
We feel that the sidewalk's wider in that section, and so the height is meant for like a selfie taking. There could be people who go across the street and try to take group photos and stuff, but the Appearance Commission originally had some concern about, we don't want people standing in the parking spots trying to take photos. We may, if we find that people are interrupting traffic or parking, we may want to put some, like a information plaque or something, maybe have them put it, that just says, we recommend you stay on the sidewalk, something related, if that's a problem. But the Appearance Commission thought this height was more appropriate for the selfie so that the words are still in there and at a close distance.
Well, I spent this past weekend in Greenville, North Carolina, and they had some sort of a contest for this exact thing, so there are multiple locations throughout town. I think it's awesome, so, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments?
Madam Mayor, for a motion.
Yep.
Move we approve the proposed interactive mural at Simply Blush along 3rd and downtown.
Right, thank you. We have a motion to approve the interactive mural to be located at Simply Blush along 3rd Street downtown Wendell. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, thank y'all. All right, we have no other business. We'll do commissioners' reports and hear from Commissioner Joyner about the Wendell Volunteer Fire Department.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll roll all of those into one, if that's fine with you.
Were there two on there?
No, I just meant I'll roll right from my fire
I
board
was
right
gonna
in.
say, you can go right to your board, yeah, okay.
The Wendell Fire Department Board met last week. Exciting, at least initial news that I shared last time was for some staffing positions at the fire department. So battalion chiefs and additional personnel. So the fire department continues to grow. In addition to that, taking the first steps in traffic signalization automation so that the fire department can, at specific intersections, control the traffic lights to, one, improve response times, but also make it a safer crossing, which is the ultimate goal there, is to stop all traffic so we can get the apparatus through the intersection. So that's the fire department. There's a ton going on, and it certainly feels good to have a ton going on. If you haven't heard, we have a budget process that's currently going on. So if you have any wonderful ideas for the town of Wendell and they happen to cost more than a penny, we're going to need to put that in a budget. And it's a really easy process. You call one of us and you tell us what you think it should be. You call town staff or you show up at a public comment and you talk about what you think should be included. I'm excited about that process, but it's coming. And so I want folks to be aware of that. Second was to thank staff and the advisory committees that worked on the comprehensive plan. As someone who looks at government plans for a living, you're always going to find portions of it that don't quite, they're done differently, or they don't look the way that you think that they should look. The important part of that is getting the input, which is certainly what you saw, or I hope you saw tonight, and what I hope you see over the coming weeks. We've taken input on that and want to continue to do that. I'm also appreciative that, as Commissioner Lutz said, that this is a plan that moving forward, we're going to adjust. I meant to say earlier, I don't know that in all my time here I've ever heard anyone reference, and Commissioner Boyette's back there, maybe he can help me with this one, but anyone reference the 2007 comprehensive plan. And I've heard a lot of compelling arguments in this room for and against stuff. It's never come up. And the reason for that, I would argue, is it's outdated and it's irrelevant. I'm looking forward to having a new standard that people can cite and say, guys, you just passed this plan, and what you're trying to do doesn't fit with what's in this plan. I look forward to that, and I look forward to collectively us having a vision that is adopted by all of us, and that got input from all of us. That's certainly the goal of this, and I certainly appreciate everyone's hard work into that. It's a long process, and so I certainly appreciate everyone that's been a part of that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Commissioner Lutz?
No comments tonight, Mayor.
Commissioner Eatman?
Want to reiterate Commissioner Joyner's comments earlier about land conservation. It is something that's really important to me and something I'm very interested in. It's a market-based approach to ensuring that we have open space for future generations. I think whether that's farmland or forest land or swampland, there's all types of open space that's important for our community, and there's lots of different ways that can happen, lots of different details to those arrangements. And everyone's unique, but whether you want to have a piece of property that continues to be in agriculture for a couple hundred more years like it has been, or you have a piece of property that you want to restore to some sort of natural habitat, all those options are on the table, and there's funding. It's not only government funding, there's significant private funding in North Carolina associated with that sort of work. And this part of North Carolina, not just this part of Wake County, but this part of North Carolina is real target for folks who are interested in investing in open space. And so I encourage you, if you are one of the people who's lucky enough to still own some open space in eastern Wake County, and that's something that you're interested in as sort of as a legacy project, I'm happy to talk to you. Town staff's happy to talk to you. There's a lot of other folks in the Triangle who would be very interested in getting to know you and talking about your vision for the future of your property. I am glad that we're going to have a comprehensive plan that was passed after I finished middle school. But I'm also glad that we're going to spend a couple weeks to make it the right comprehensive plan. So I look forward to hearing from folks between now and then on specific changes we can. I think that's something that you'll hear from everybody on this board. Budget's coming up too. That is a policy document. In a lot of ways, it's the dollars and cents, but it's also another opportunity for us to lay out the vision of the town and where we're going to go for the next year. So there's lots of these things that are moving at all points in time, and they do all really matter. They're not just plans and concepts on paper. They are conceptual, but they matter. And so go ahead and take a look at our current budget, start thinking about what things are right, what things are missing, what things are wrong. Communicate with us. Let us know. You're going to hear more about it. Sometimes you do have to take a little bit of extra effort to plug in and know what we're doing, but it is available, and any opportunity that we have to be more transparent, I know I'm supportive of, and would love to hear your thoughts about how we can do that. And then finally, happy Easter in advance. I know that one of the things I think is really special about Wendell is our churches, and I love that we start our meetings with representation from the Council of Churches, and that's certainly the way that I found a place of community here when I first moved here, was by attending church. So whether that's whatever that looks like for you, I encourage you to enjoy the Easter holiday and find a sense of community in Wendell, and look forward to talking to you between now and the next meeting.
Commissioner Tarnowski?
Good evening, Mayor. I'm also looking forward to the budget this year and maintaining taxes and not raising them again for our citizens. However, we can do that, and would also like to wish everyone a happy Easter. Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Deloach?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On that same note, there's a sunrise service, Town Square Sunrise. I Googled prior to the meeting, not that I knew this, 6:38 a.m. So get there about 6:30. And immediately following at the Methodist Church, we'll be having breakfast that's open to the public. So I'd love for you to come out and join us. I hear everybody talk about budget. It's funny because I know nobody loves budget time more than our town manager. He gets jazzed up and excited about it. I will not say that I share his level of excitement, but I will tell you that it is so important. Again, literally every penny goes into that. So I enjoyed spending time last week discussing it and just thoughts and ideas, and I feel like it's, again, coming together nicely this year. So thank you to town staff for that. I mentioned earlier that I spent the weekend, my hometown's Greenville, North Carolina. I spent the weekend there, and there was a time not too long ago that people would say, well, where do you live now? And I would say Wendell. And you'd have to spend 5 minutes telling people where Wendell was. And literally, you pass it on your way to Raleigh, people, so you know where it is. But the conversations I've had recently, and even this past weekend, complimentary, oh my gosh, that place is really growing. Community college is now visible. I mean, there's still elevation. You know, there is real game-changing progress going on here. And it's not just something, it's not something we take lightly. And I speak for myself, but I've shared conversations with my fellow commissioners. It's exciting to be a part of it. And for people, part of the draw to Wendell for me, being from Eastern North Carolina, I lived in Raleigh, was to come to Wendell because it is much like where I grew up, Eastern North Carolina. And it still holds true. And we will grow. There's a lot of exciting things, but just the fact that people know Wendell, they know what we're about, they know the great things that are going on. Yes, we have 3 exits off of interstate. Yes, we have historic districts. It's just exciting, and I share that just so you know a little more about me and, you know, my care for this town and this area. And I speak to people in Greenville, Pitt County, friends in Wilson, so, you know, we don't have to have an exact blueprint or path to where we want to be, but it is nice to have input and discussions with various folks. So anyway, enough about that. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I have a few quick reminders, and then I'll tell you a couple things I've been doing. Our Public Safety Day is coming back in Wendell. It is nice that we're having a lot of things are coming back. I think it was said earlier. That's going to be Saturday, May 7th from 10 to 2 on Main and Campen Street. And there will be public safety agencies there, educational booths, bouncy houses for kids, balloon artist face painting, raffles, food, drinks, and that's your opportunity to begin signing up for Camp Choices. So it's a free event hosted by the Wendell Police Department, so come out and join us. It's always a fun time. Another thing I wanted to tell you about is that Wake County and the mayors of the town of Rolesville, Zebulon, and Wendell kicked off the new service of the Go Wake Smart Ride service. And I talked about this last time, but I want to talk about it again. It's a rideshare program, and you can go anywhere in Wendell, Zebulon, or Rolesville. All you have to do is you can use an Uber app, and they will bring the van to you, or you can call 212-7005 and schedule a ride. You can schedule it up to 2 weeks in advance. You can schedule it to take you to work and pick you up every single day. You can have it take you to Nightdale, where you can catch a bus and go to Raleigh, so that you are not constrained by the morning or evening express bus that we have here in Wendell. So if you have an appointment at 1 and you don't want to spend the entire day in Raleigh, you can do this, and that's a way to get to Raleigh. I believe was brought up tonight about the 17% of people that are living below the poverty level, and so this is a wonderful opportunity and hopefully a first step in a lot of transportation services for this part of the county. It's very badly needed. I spent some time this past week. Sometimes things fall into clusters, and I don't know why, but it happens a lot. And I spent some time with a lot of kids in different places this past week. First, I went to Wendell Elementary School, or the Wendell Arts and Science Magnet Elementary School. They always correct me, and judged the science and engineering fair, and that was grades 3 through 5. I was really impressed by the quality of the projects. We have some really bright kids here. They had graphics. They were investigating fantastic questions. It was very advanced, and the quality of the presentations was very good. So I congratulate the ones who won that. Then I read to 8 classes in one day. It was marathon reading. 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders at Carver Elementary School, and then answered questions about being a mayor and local government. They were very good listeners. They were very interested, very polite, asked thoughtful questions. I've actually already, they asked for my email, and so I gave them my email, and I've already started getting email from some of them. A lot of email, actually. But it's fine. I've answered them back, and they're really cute, funny, fun questions. So we're all pen pals now, and so I've been getting a lot of emails from them. But I do email with a lot of kids, so it's fine. They can email me all they'd like. And then I also visited with our track out campers this past week, and it was called Muffins with the Mayor, and answered questions about being a mayor and did some things like that. That was kindergarten through 6th graders, and mostly from Lake Myra Elementary School. So I feel like I've kind of hit several of our elementary schools this week. I always keep up with what's the best question I get, and this time it came from track out camp, and it was, is the number 10 an even number? So, and the answer is yes. And so, in addition to what is it like to be the mayor and how much money do you make and did the town buy you that yellow golf cart, I got to do some math questions, which if any of you know me very well, I do not enjoy math, and so I'm not like the town manager and some of these people. I can do it, but I don't enjoy it. And so that was about as deep as I wanted to get into math. So it's probably somebody's homework that day. I really enjoyed them all, though, and I look forward to coming back. I think I'm already scheduled to come back to some of them. I wanted to remind you that this coming Saturday is the Wendell Easter egg hunt. The Passage Church is doing it again like they always do, and it starts at 10 o'clock at the Wendell Community Park. It's always very popular. Mark your calendars. I understand they've been packing eggs like crazy. I've seen several of them, and they've told me they've been filling a bunch of eggs. I also wanted to go ahead and give you some dates for Meet on Main. May 13th, June 17th, August 19th, and September 16th from 5 to 9:30. The bands are booked and the details are underway. So there you go. Breaking news. And the last thing, Happy Easter. I hope you all have a wonderful time. Enjoy your family and spend the day together enjoying each other. I think we need to have a motion to go into closed session.
Madam Mayor, I move we go into closed session, North Carolina General Statute 143, 318, 11, 85.
All right, we have a motion to go into closed session. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Huh? I am not going on.